And it's just nice because he's willing to give updates to what's going on, what the village can do, what the village is trying to do to get us all through this pandemic. So thanks again for being here, Mayor. And, what can you tell us in the last week? What have you guys figured out? What's changed? What are you doing?
Well, first of all, it's my pleasure to be here and remind people that all village offices are still closed, as all municipal offices basically are, I guess. But we're still handling business. I know that Maureen Butler, our clerk, said she came in Monday morning and the drop box was absolutely packed with envelopes with people paying their taxes. And we certainly are happy that that's happening. In order for us to stay in business, we need that tax money coming in. And so it's happy to see people are following through. People are in all the offices except for the court. The court's closed until further notice based on the unified court system taking over. I know that I wanted to get something out of the way early is that I've really enjoyed your sessions. Particularly enjoyed watching Jim Hogan the other day from the Ambulance Corps. The Ambulance Corps has got a spot in the hearts of the Clarke family because my parents were life members. My dad was the president for a number of years. My mother was very active. So we're happy to see them keeping on. Jim had called the other day after our session last week and said, geez, we have masks, but it could get dangerous here before too long because we're using them on every call. So I wrote up something and put it on our Facebook page, and I would guess 15 to 20 people shared that message. So it got out around, and it sounds like some people came up with some equipment, face guards, that type of stuff. So if anybody is out there with a mission and not the equipment to carry it out, please speak up, let us know. Call me, call one of the supervisors, call the chief of police. We'll figure out a way to get the message out to people. The Baldwinsville, helping Baldwinsville, the numbers have grown significantly. There are people who continue to say, I'm available to shop for groceries for people, and so we direct them in that direction. There are other agencies, the food bank, things like that need help. So if people are looking for a way to get a hold of somebody, they can call the village, either town. I'm sure that we'll get them to somebody that can help. I really enjoyed Nancy Howe, the online library stuff. Not any idea how much was available to people online. So that as this continues, I could see my wife and I maybe getting a movie online. It was interesting to think that people could actually spend some time now to learn a language, which never even realized you had access to. So you're doing a great service, and we really appreciate that. Again, Village Hall, the things we're taking care of bills, basically water bills. We're now past the date on taxes, so now people are paying a small penalty, but we're still hoping that they don't wait too long to get their taxes in. I think we're all in a situation. I was saying before we went on the air, where we're all looking at our budgets and realizing that some of the revenue that we count on from the state, the county, may not come during this budget year. It may not come for a long time. We're talking billions of dollars being spent at the state level, and I know the county has already spent well into the millions, and somewhere that money is going to have to be accounted for. So we're going to have to take a hard look at what we spend in the village too, so we don't get ourselves in trouble at the end of the budget year.
I know. To interrupt real quick, Bob Wicks had mentioned that yesterday as well, that the town of Lysander, I'm sure the town of Van Buren, you got to look at what do you need to spend, what you have to spend. So it's good that you guys are being proactive on that.
Yeah, and the budget years don't coincide. Ours starts March 1st, theirs starts January 1st. So they'll be at the end of the summer, they'll be really starting in earnest, but they got to be planning now. we're sort of caught in a little bit. We have a budget. We can't change that until next March. Well, but most of the people, the people who run our departments understand. There's some things you can't cut. Some things, you can say, maybe we'll wait to buy that piece of equipment, or we'll, put that off for a year. We have a big project at the senior center that through the county, I'm guessing the county's going to say, maybe you got to wait a year to do that. And that's not the end of the world. I mean, there are people in worse situations than that. Again, in talking about people needing help, I wanted to mention before I forget, neighbor the other day, older fella, called my wife, actually called looking for help, and I'm not capable of that kind of help as far as computer stuff. And he was dealing with Wegmans and had questions on the online ordering system. So I was able to put my wife on the phone, and she walked him through some things, and he was very pleased that she could help him. And she mentioned Meals on Wheels, and he had been a participant and then stopped for a while, but he said he was going to sign up again, so which made us feel better. Excuse me. So again, that's a service that's out there. Don't forget Meals on Wheels. Our code office is working. Greg is out on a regular basis, just patrolling the village, looking for unsafe situations. We're not going to be as tough on people with, little things in the yard that shouldn't be there. But if there's an unsafe situation, that's why they kept code officers as one of the essential people. We can't have things that are going to hurt people being allowed to exist in neighborhoods and stuff. So Greg is kind of keep an eye on that. If you have a question, call Greg, 635-2481. It may kick over to his cell phone, so don't get confused, but he'll get back to you if he doesn't answer it right away. The village hall number, I forgot to mention, was 635-3521. Getting on to the DPW, obviously we still have people taking care of the water and keeping it safe. If anybody has any concerns with their water, with their sewer situations, please call 635-9665. Somebody will respond. If it's after hours, the emergency number is on the voicemail recording, and it flicks over to one of the either the engineer or the foreman, and somebody will respond to your emergency. We are hoping to do brush next week. We checked with the state, and because the biggest issue is it gets in the street, and then if you get a heavy rain, it ends up in the storm drain. Now we have some flooding, which becomes potentially very dangerous. So we want to get that stuff picked up. So we're working on trying to get that done. We're also discussing the possibility of placing a truck or two around the village where people could take brush in the event that we can't pick it up. There will be posts on the Baldwinsville Village Facebook site and on the website when we're 100% certain what we're going to do.
Okay.
The police department operating normally. Any serious calls, if you need to talk to an officer about anything, it's 911. It's very simple. If you need administrative help, 635-3131 is the number. And, if you need paperwork, if you just have a question about a handicap sticker, that kind of, or hang tag, that kind of stuff, that's the number you call. As mentioned, Canton Woods, still operating. So hopefully if any senior has an issue, there'd be no excuse for not being able to get a hold of somebody. If you have a heat problem, you have food problems, they'll get you in touch with the right people through the county. And as I said, somebody is calling seniors from home, and just, if you need anything, call me back type of thing.
Right.
Give them a link so that there is a link. The number at the Canton Woods Senior Center is 638-4536. And Meals on Wheels is 638-2171. Donna Metz is waiting to put you on the list. She continues to get people offering support of food through food drives and stuff. It's one of the big ones that they're doing, along with a backpack and some of the lunch programs. So again, there's people there to help you. Don't sit around and fret. Call somebody. The county.
I was going to say, Ed Jordan, I spoke to him yesterday from Meals on Wheels, and they have increased, I think, over 60 people. But we put the number on Heart Home and Community. So if somebody hasn't called, but they're thinking about calling, same thing to reach out. They said that they're prepared to have an expansion of people. So hopefully people call if they need to, like your neighbor that you had mentioned.
Yeah, it's just wonderful, the people on the front lines. I mean, people recognize the police. I think they recognize the ambulance corps, although sometimes you forget they're there until you see the ambulance go down your street, or if you have a call, then you really are happy they're there. But they're out. I mean, they're responding to every call they get, and they're treating every call like somebody has the virus, even though the call was for something else. So between the stress and the equipment situations, it's a big deal. And Meals on Wheels, same thing. Those people are getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, going over and preparing meals. The people that are delivering, they are going to the door generally and knocking on the door, leaving the meal on the step. Better than not having food. Somebody has to go out and grab it. And if there's other situations that need to be dealt with, they'll take care of it. If you're having a struggle, and I've heard of people saying, they're getting a little bit of the cabin fever, they're getting nervous. 211 is a county helpline, and they have people for any kind of emergency. If your child is getting claustrophobic and you need some help, they'll give you some advice on things you can do. And if you need help beyond, say Meals on Wheels or Canton Woods, if you want to call the county directly, the helpline there is 218-1987. We have done some things social distancing wise. We took down basketball hoops because kids were congregating. Now you hate to think that you would take that away from them, but at this time, the most important thing is to not congregate. You may have seen, I'm assuming most people have seen that the county is advising people that they see congregations that they think are uncalled for to call 911. They will call the local police agency and they will respond. They're actually talking about writing tickets. And if it's a serious thing, they're talking about maybe putting people in jail. I don't think it's that important to have a neighborhood get together on your back deck with 15, 20 people, yell over the fence if it's that important to see somebody, or yell from driveway to driveway. Talk on the phone like we're talking. I mean, most phones are capable of having some sort of a FaceTime kind of thing. It's the only way you're going to get ahead of this thing. As Ryan McMahon keeps saying, let's starve it. If it can't jump from one person to the next, it's going to stop eventually. We are leaving the parks open for the time being because we know that people like to walk, and particularly our parks. The two parks are right on the water, very peaceful. You need to get out and just not be inside the four walls of your home. The park is a great alternative as long as you don't get 2 feet away from somebody and talk. Again, the simple things, it sounds to me like everything I'm hearing is that washing your hands is the number one thing. If you can keep your hands washed and off your face, you got a chance. I see that the CDC is talking now about where they had before not encouraged it. They are now talking that maybe wearing a mask out in public, if you're not infected, will help. Might not stop you from getting it, but it might. They're not ruling it out. So they are suggesting now that if you can wear a mask out in public, probably not a bad idea.
Just to interrupt for 1 second, they deemed real estate essential employees last night at about 7 o'clock. So that's a change in our industry. I believe I'm getting one of the real estate brokers to talk to me about those changes because that's new. But I know we're talking about getting masks so that if we do take people out or sellers which is a little bit of a catch-22 because the masks are needed for the ambulance and the police. And, if they're talking about everybody wearing them, there's going to be another shortage of masks out there. But again, we'll get more information on the real estate side of it. But when you mentioned masks, I mean, that's a whole nother slew of an industry that if they're going to be out there, need to keep people safe. So the gloves, the masks, the sanitizers, so just
Yep.
this is my 2 cents. I was surprised when that came across the pipeline last night. But now the industry that I'm in, we're trying to figure out if we do this, how do we do it safely, right?
Yeah. That's got to be tough because you want to show people homes. You can't leave them unlocked and just ask them to walk in on their own and wander around. And
No. So a whole can of worms for another episode. And I apologize to interrupt, but when you said masks, it's if everybody's going to be wearing them, that's another shortage of who's going to need them and who's going to make them and how are we going to get them?
there are a lot of people making them locally. They're not making hundreds, but they're trying to make enough so that individual people can have one or two in their house if they have to go out. And I think it sounds like the industries are catching up a little bit in that, for instance, the motor vehicle builders, GM and others are turning their equipment around. Instead of making cars, they're now making ventilators. Other people, I keep seeing stories. You never really know exactly what's true, but that people are from foreign countries are sending massive stuff to us with the idea that eventually we would send stuff to them if it gets worse in their country. I don't know what's real and what's not real at this point, but we got to take care of ourselves, and that's number one. And then it just like the disease spreads, if we take care of ourselves and everybody else does, eventually that's got to start multiplying.
Right.
We'll have healthy people walking around. Again, if you have symptoms and you need to get tested, you think you do, call your doctor. Your doctor knows you and knows that you've never complained about a fever ever before. Might think that this would be you're not a chronic complainer. You need to get tested. If you don't have a doctor, 464-3979 is the county hotline, and they'll set you up either with their mobile one down on South Salina Street, or they'll get you into one of the hospitals, that type of thing. Don't just go wandering into a urgent care place. They do not want you coming in there saying I'm sick, and then you get turned away, and then everybody gets nasty. Again, Ryan McMahon yesterday saying people have been calling the health hotline with nasty comments. I was in this store. You never called me to tell me that one of the workers was sick. And so, well, you're not going to be able to call everybody that was in Wegmans.
Right.
Just pay attention to the news and stuff. But his main thrust was we've got people answering nasty phone calls that should be doing work, that should be helping with testing, should be getting people hooked up to testing, and they're spending their time trying to get people to quit yelling at them.
Yeah.
Let's be civil and realize that nobody wants to be in this situation. We're all in together, and then the sooner we realize that, the better off we'll be. I guess that's about all I have, really. Just that look out for each other. Now my wife, she can't get out and do things for people because she's one of those people that's on the. Not only is she on the Matilda list for being over a certain age, I won't say what that age is because she's not far away, but she also has some health issues. And so I don't want her getting sick. So I'm trying to stay extra healthy. I have two sisters who have lung issues. People around you, if you look close enough, you'll find out that they're not ones you want to have get sick.
Right.
So my wife has tried to do other things. So last night she makes cards. So she got a list from somebody who does some work at Canton Woods Senior Center of people who could use a card. Or Syracuse Home, I'm sorry. Not Canton Woods. At Syracuse Home. So she's got this whole stack of cards that she made.
Oh, that's
Sent them
nice.
out today. They're basically thinking of you kind of cards. People don't know her generally. I don't think any of them. We only knew one name on the list. So hopefully they'll get these cards in a day or two and it'll brighten their day up a little bit. So think again that way. If you have an older relative somewhere, drop them a line, give them a phone call. It probably have a lasting effect of a couple days of brightening them up. Let's be civil, let's be decent, and let's be caring. As we all know, last night we took part in putting some candles out on the porch to light up for our first responders, to recognize them. Saw that people around the village and around the community did that. I just think that stuff's invaluable. We all need to know that everybody's rooting for everybody. Let's get through this, and hopefully by the end of the summer, when we can have some cookouts and people be looking at each other and saying, "Phew, never thought we'd get through it, but somehow we managed." So
yeah.
No,
I completely agree with you, and thank you for being here. I think it's bringing a lot of families together. I've talked to my dad's sisters that, I always say, well, I need to call them. And now in this time I talked to my Aunt Roseanne, my Aunt Levon, my cousin out in Texas, and the people that I'm talking to around here, we're all doing the same thing. I think the card idea that your wife just had, because maybe those people in Syracuse home, they don't have somebody that's calling and checking in on them, and they can't have visitors. So that card, that was a really, really sweet gesture that she did. And hopefully that, kind of gets passed along here.
And I would think you could just send a card to resident 1, resident 2, if you didn't even know people, and they could, some people won't pay that close attention to what the address is, excuse me, but they open up the card, and these are bright, cheery kind of cards, and not necessarily what I would be looking for, but most of these are older women who probably really appreciate flowers and on the card and that kind of stuff. Any little thing that you can do to brighten somebody's day is worth the time you spend.
No, I agree. So, well, thank you again for being here. Thanks again for all the information that you shared with us. And as much as I would like to say this is going to end soon, I think that just to keep flattening the curve, it's going to be at least another couple weeks. Look forward to probably talking to you again.
Well, we'll be ready.
Okay, sounds perfect. So you guys enjoy the rest of it.
Thanks for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you. I think I told you this before. I figure if I have questions, other people have questions. So how do you get more information out there? So, but I appreciate it.
You are a smart person.
Thank you. I'm recording this, right? So I can just zone in on that and throw it to my kids over and over and over again, right?
Right. And just, I thought I would dress for the occasion so that people know I'm being positive. I'm anxious for baseball to start. Hopefully there'll be a baseball season. I have my Syracuse sweats on. I'm just, all positive about, we got to have sports back in it. And it just happens to be a Yankee shirt.
You may or may not like the Yankees yet. Too great. I will thank you guys for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I include your wife, because even though we can't see her, I know that she's very much a part of these conversations.
She's my floor director.
She is. All right, guys. Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, Shelley.
You too.
Bye-bye.